We've got some.
Hey, I'm Luis.
And I'm Luis.
And you're listening to the Content is Profit podcast.
We spent the last 4 years learning the strategies and techniques from some of the top marketers in the world on how to create content that turns into profit. And today, we're bringing them to you so you can take action immediately and start creating real content momentum.
If you'd like to learn more about how to turn your content into profit, go to contentisprofit.com. Oh, yeah. In studio podcast alert. That is right. Today we have our third guest right here with us, and you are in for a treat. We met him for the first time through PodMax, and later we found out he is part of an awesome accountability group that we joined a few weeks ago. You could say it was meant to be.
Indeed, I think it was meant to be. I'm just going to throw this out there. 3 in-studio podcast guests already?
Yeah, man.
Joe Rogan, you better watch out. We're coming for you. Jokes aside, today's guest is incredible, and he's here to help you stop living by other people's scripts and expectations. Yes, right down my alley. This is going to be amazing. I'm so ready.
That's right. Today's guest is here to inspire you and transcend and evolve to your highest human potential using exactly what you already have. You. Not only that, he's a successful owner of Create Studios, a digital marketing agency, and Converge, a community for young entrepreneurs.
Pretty impressive stuff. I'm so excited to hop into this conversation. Please welcome agency owner, truth seeker, and a really cool dude, Jeff Venn.
Let's go!
Jeff, I'm so excited, man. Dude. Wow. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that entry. Let's go.
What a voice. Feel the vibes. Good energy.
It's good, right?
Yeah, no caffeine needed here.
No caffeine needed. Is this you or me?
I stole it.
Oh, okay. Well, all you. All you
I have
then.
to clear my throat. I just
Love
made
it.
it useful.
Love
Sweet.
it.
Sip, though.
Awesome. Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you. I'm glad
Have you
I
drink?
nailed it.
All right, now I gotta change my mic this
What?
way so I can face the awesome guest that we have today, Jeff. I'm so excited to have you here. Thank you.
Dude, yeah,
I'm
first
glad
of all,
to be here.
thank you so much for coming. I mean, I think like this is becoming a trend now, and we need to have a mini cooler with drinks.
You do.
That is the biggest lesson.
Yes, that is the first lesson of
That is
today.
the first
is
lesson
to have a
of
mini
today.
fridge right here in the corner.
You may have to clear your throat.
I know.
You just have to.
Yeah, true,
It's
true,
all
Don't
good.
hear too much of that.
We might have some water in here, so I'll just go in and out. If you ever need it, just let me know. But dude, thank you, man. Like this is so exciting. Like we've been connecting with people in town, and thank you for being here and sharing your knowledge with us.
Glad to do
Absolutely. So for those listening right now, and they're asking themselves, who is this awesome dude called Jeff, right? That they heard all about in the intro, which I am 100% responsible for falling short in that intro, because as I was writing stuff, I'm like, man, like all the things that I want to say about you, I cannot just fit them in here. So who's Jeff?
Congratulations on the intro. I hate it when things are wrong and I'm like, correct them when I stand up here. So Jeff is basically this. I followed a pretty traditional route. So we're here in Jacksonville, Florida. We have the beautiful University of North Florida. So I've
Yeah,
always been
swoop.
a flaming creative, right? So I started playing music at 6 years old, piano,
Wow.
got into guitar, got into singing, led a lot of worship at church. I played music
Yeah.
in church forever, pretty much professionally, but went that traditional route, got a computer science degree, minored in graphic design, and got a job at a corporate municipality. So the company that did the water, the wastewater, all that. And it was a great job. There's like 2,000 people. I had a true pension when I started. So here I am in my early 20s, just after graduating, like a straight pension, meaning if I stayed there 30 years, I'd be in my early 50s and retire and have 80% of my salary for life, just a check. And that's like the traditional dream, right?
Yeah.
And I got there and it was kind of good. There was 2,000 people. I was in the IT department, which was 200, but I just got really bored after about 6.5 years.
Wow.
And that was before work from home was a big thing, right?
Yeah.
So here I am, I live right by the beach. I love surfing, and I had to drive like 40 minutes every day. And when springtime came, I'd get in the car. There's no way to just like be like, hey, I'm gonna come in at 11 or do whatever. And more than that, if you work at a corporate job, people waste a lot of time, right? and I like work, but when I'm working, I want to work. I just don't want to have to hang around for 9 hours. So I just got really bored of it. And I had this epiphany, this moment that caused me to leave after 6.5 years. I did really good there. I got in the leadership team. There was about 10 leaders, 200 people IT shop.
Wow.
And I just looked across the table at this guy. He's awesome. He was my senior, and he made just a little bit more money than me. And it was this old bureaucratic civil service city type building. I just had this moment. I love these people. I still talk to the CIO. She was a CIO for 15 years. Still talk to her to this day. But I was just like, man, I got to do this for like another like 26 years. And I just had this sinking feeling inside. And so for those of you listening, and you may be this person, if you're like me, or it may be one of your friends, but you know, you get the Sunday scaries. You know, the weekend starts and you get to escape it. Maybe you leave early Friday, right? 3:50 p.m. and you're out of there. But, you know, Saturday comes around, you have that work thought, or say you have a job where your boss texts you on the weekend. And man, that's a terrible feeling. And we spend so much time at work, you know?
Yeah.
So I really just wanted control of my time and energy. And to wrap that story up, at that time, this was in 2005, websites were really starting to kick, right? So it was really websites. And I was like, man, I want to go out and do projects that finish. You know, I want control of my time, and I just gave it a go. Yeah, and at the time it was kind of risky because I was newly married and I had a 1-year-old, and I was the breadwinner, right? So there's a little risk there. But that was 2005, and here we are, almost in 2021, and
that's amazing, man. I just want to point out the similarities in these stories with this guy right here. He left his job last year with a 1-year-old and married as well, right? So I think that's pretty cool, actually.
Yeah, and Katie
what
was
a coincidence.
Yeah, when I left, Katie was full-time student, doctorate actually to become a pharmacist, right? You know, we're knocking on wood. She's doing amazing now. But yeah, it was a scary thought, man. I completely identify with that side of the story because, you know, I was also in a job. I honestly, I really enjoyed that job. But then external circumstances, I was working like from 5 a.m. all the way to like 6 p.m., right? Or then sometimes from like 2 p.m. all the way to 10 p.m. Like it was crazy schedule. And, you know, Katie came to me and she's like, where's my husband? Like, I don't see you. You're all crappy all the time. Like, your mood is not what it needs to be. Like, so that led me to make that decision, right? So internally, like those things that we like for you was I want to control my time to a degree. I also wanted to control my time, but I think you master it. So you need to spill all the secrets because, you know, you're a few years ahead of us.
Slightly.
Slightly. Well, thank you so much for sharing that story.
It's been a hot minute. And what's funny is people think entrepreneurship's so risky, right? Yeah. But check it out. So I have a couple of brother-in-laws, and they have those regional sales jobs where they'll cover the Southeast.
Yeah.
And guess what? When you're working for someone, you're just one corporate decision away or one bad boss away from losing your job.
That sounds risky.
And granted, like you get severance and this, that, and then you'll find in their job. It feels like, oh, entrepreneurship's so risky. I was like, we have 130 customers right now. It's unlikely it's going to go from 130 to 0. So actually, my job is more stable. And as an entrepreneur, I actually have 2 bosses. And if these 2 bosses are happy, I'm good. And the bosses are cash flow, right? Because if you don't have money in the bank or access to money, you're going to die. And then sales. So if the sales forecast is looking good, and obviously we manage cash flow well, most of the other problems, if you're turning a profit, are solvable. So I focus on making sure more money's coming in, and making sure we're collecting on the money. And of course, the goal of a business is to turn a profit.
Sorry, Fonzie.
You go ahead.
I want to highlight this: 130 clients. Awesome. Like, write that down as goal.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, done.
Goal
Okay, sweet.
130.
And I mean, it's the first. A word that comes to mind is simplicity. You know, and in a few calls that we've had with you together in this group, that's what you've expressed, right? You kind of see above a lot of things, right? And then, but you simplify things. It's like, man, like my 2 bosses, right? Cash flow, and was it sales, right? Sales.
Yeah. Income and like collecting on the income.
And collecting, right? So, and it's incredible. At the end of the day, you know, that's the essence, right? After that, it's like, well, you know, there's different things and different aspects that we can look at to see like how can that cash flow be continuous, like month over month or whatever. Like you could get into details, right? But then you can put people in place into that, and it's incredible because last Tuesday when we had our call, I was like, man, like the clarity on how you were expressing this, you know, to our point. Obviously, you know, we're growing our agency side on the side, and it's being like, man, like that's where we need to be. That's where, you know, the mindset. So how did you get there? Like when you started this entrepreneurship journey, did someone tell you this is how you need to do it, or how was that? How was that evolution?
I did everything. And by the way, can I get some volume in here?
Yeah, of course.
I think that's the point.
Let me know. Is that better?
There you go.
Yeah, awesome.
There you go.
Something. There you go. I was like listening to you guys muted. Like, it's like I had fingers in my ears.
It's like, what is this guy saying?
Yeah.
They seem like they're
I'm lip
screaming,
reading.
but
I
it's
didn't tell
like
you my
Yeah.
secret talent.
I
I
also
just
wanna-
lip read that whole thing.
I also want to put this out there. If by any chance you want a bench, where you can like sit or lean in a
I'll
little
do
bit,
some push-ups on the bench.
Let me know.
And get a little workout in.
We can go get a
Not with
workout
you
as well
guys.
too
Energize.
later.
Stay standing.
yeah.
Yeah, when you make a
Absolutely.
sales call, actually, you should stand up and look in the mirror and like get your shoulders up before you call someone.
That's a good
Because that's
tip.
the good energy. When you walk in the room and you're feeling a little insecure, you just put your chin up a little bit.
I love it.
Not like cocky, right? You think,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
put my chin up,
Yeah.
look down on people. But if you literally walk in a room, like we look down when we're insecure, but if you literally like put your shoulders back and just kind of look up and survey, all of a sudden you just feel a little energy.
I do agree.
Absolutely.
There's actually this one tip. I think it was from Tony Robbins that I heard a very long time ago. That he called it like the power poses, and he
Yeah.
said literally,
Yeah.
if you change your physiology, you can change your emotional state inside. So the days that you're feeling like a little low and don't feel like that energetic, literally like stand like this, like posing, like like
And you
for
get
like 1
immediate
minute.
results, though.
And
Do you
immediately
want to see
Immediate
Fonz's
results.
power pose? What's your
Yeah.
power pose?
my pose is like this. Huh, let's go.
Yeah.
Clearly, we have a ton of superhero themes over here in the studio, so we've taken some inspiration from it.
So we had a little tangent in here, but Jeff, I want to go back to the main question that my brother was saying, right? Like that simplicity aspect. How do you learn it, right? I'm extremely curious about it too,
Yeah.
because when we started entrepreneurship or journey, it was like so many things. We're like, oh, running a business has to be complicated, and in fact, it is not, and you are the living proof of it.
Sure. So simplicity is one thing, but basically when you start out on your own, like I had a little bit of savings. I could probably have
Yeah.
lived for 3 months if I made $0. So, you need to have a little pad, and my parents helped out a lot. So that was there and gave me a little confidence. But all I've done really, honestly, is fire myself, right? And the reason is this. Some things you master and you get really good at, and then after a while you hate them. So check this out. I own a website, an online marketing agency, but I can't stand like running a website project. I hate it. I don't have to hear about it anymore. And that was kind of like an example of the first thing I got off my plate, right? So I was doing it front to back. I was doing sales. I was doing a crappy job of invoicing, right? How many of y'all just suck at collecting money sometimes?
Yeah. I mean, Fonzie completely like he does not. He fired himself and then hired me to do that.
Well, you got to do good cop, bad cop, and you can actually give it to a CPA. But yeah,
Yeah.
you remember when you get your first job and say it's like $1,500, and it feels like $1 bajillion, and,
Yeah.
and you just want to do anything for the customer, so you just lay out the red carpet and just get abused along the way. It takes a while to break that mentality, right? Because like when I went out on my own, $1,500 was huge. I was just like, oh my God, I'm going to be able to like pay the mortgage this month, kind
Yeah,
of thing.
yeah,
But
exactly.
Absolutely.
that mentality only gets you so far. But all I've done is really sought to fire myself. So I was doing everything, right? I do like sales. I do like connecting with people. I do love design. So I like graphic design. It was pretty quick to design up a website in Photoshop. But the first one I got off my plate, just to give you an example of how you can remove yourself out of the business, was coding websites. So say I landed 5 websites and it's just me. A website at that time took about 30 hours to code.
Wow.
And I had a computer science degree, so I was totally capable of it, liked it. But, I got to do sales. I got to do designs. I got to do
Yeah.
support on the other 5 websites I finished the month before. So at some point, just doing one website would just eat up like 3 of the 5 days. And mind you, I never worked more than 40 hours.
Yeah.
Never. And the reason is this.
Was that your rule?
Yeah, and it was a rule, and just I don't like work that much.
Yeah.
Right? So what do I gain by working 60, 70 hours a week other than health issues and a bad social life?
Yeah.
And
Right?
it is actually proven scientifically that I think it's after like 40, 50 hours, your productivity just declines. And it's
Yeah.
like you're not doing anything.
So I'm super focused, and I can hit a good, back in those days, 5 or 6 hours a day. So once again, I didn't want to work more than 40 hours because right now I could work 24 hours a day. I always have been able to, I always could. Like
Yeah.
there's always been that amount of work, and I don't mean making money work, just like bills or organizing files, just all kind of work. So the work's always going to be endless. There's always things to do. So
Yeah.
putting a cap on that and then looking at your work week and being like, what just drains my energy? And it could be something as simple as invoicing, which frankly
Yeah.
doesn't take that much time. And guess what? There's super affordable CPAs. And they're much more savage about asking for money because you're actually owed it. Right?
Exactly,
Your time
yeah.
and energy is worth something, so it's
Yeah.
actually okay to ask for money.
Yeah.
But go back to the website thing. So here I landed 5 websites, right? All of a sudden, like 3 are due at once. It takes 30 hours to code them, and then someone's calling about this, and then a little design change on that. So that's when I started down the journey of getting help. And that's probably one of the hardest parts because, it took utter control of every detail to build the business. And then right now, my success is letting go. So it's funny, I've like climbed this mountain of utter just iron fist control. And I don't mean I'm going to yell at someone, but it's going to be done right. It's going to be done a certain way. But over time, you really got to learn to let the CPA do the invoices. And if they don't do them the way you want or don't have the tone in the email the way you want, well, show them how you want the email worded instead of being like, I'm taking this back over. So I would say firing myself from things I had mastered and was just sick of, or things that just 30 hours, 5 websites, that's what, 150 hours. I don't have that. That's my whole month just to code the sites, not even design them.
I think a lot of people miss that last part. It's like, okay, if I count what's going to take me to do this, right? And then you put it in perspective in your calendar. It's like, do I really do this, right? Because that's exactly what happened when we were first starting. We started obviously with stickers, I was telling you outside, and then the screen printing and all this stuff. And then when we transition to digital and Fonzie was editing all these videos, right? Like I was the front guy selling, and then he's like, dude, stop. Like I cannot edit anymore, right? Or we need help, right? But at the time the mentality was like, we don't really know how to hire anybody. Like it was just the starting point, right? And now we're in a place where with the type of content that we produce, same thing, we had this conversation last month. He's like, dude, sales, right? Like systems. And in fact, we ended up hiring somebody to help us to build that system on the back end. But to me, because I'm on the operations side with the team, right? We're now testing capacities and testing like what they can do stuff. So I'm like, pull the brakes, give me like 2 more weeks so we can test this capacity, right? It's not me operating, but it is the team. But at the same time, it's like, how can we predictably grow so we can start plugging in people to execute, right? So was that also part of like your learning curve, or was it?
So I always was like, every business coach I ever got, which I highly recommend doing business coaching.
Yeah.
I would like to plug that one People Later that we talked about, because that's the most affordable one.
Yeah,
but,
absolutely.
They're all like, oh, document all your processes before you start doing it. And I'm honestly pretty get it done quick and free spirited. So I had to get other people to document, and they didn't like documenting as much as me. So that's always been a challenge. But if you are a systems thinker, which many engineers are, go for it. But if you're a little more free-flowing, fly by the seat of your pants, but have a plan, you just kind of got to get the right people around you and slowly grow into that. Because a lot of times you do a manual and you've already trained the person, and then no one looks at it for 6 months and they quit, and the next person comes in, you're just like...
And they're so behind, it's like not even close to what you guys
I wanted to go back to one other thing, because someone's mind's probably turning right now, and they're like, man, I would hire the CPA, but I can't afford it.
Yeah.
Right? Or I'd hire the coder, but I can't afford it. And there's 2 easy ways to handle that. One is just don't think month to month. Make a little investment and think ahead 3 months. And if the worst case scenario is paying a CPA $300, i.e. in 3 months, $300, $900 is going to break you, well, take the risk and see if you can make it 3 months paying the CPA, because my guess is you can. And then look at it like this too. I don't have $300 to spend. Well, your cash flow is so miserable because you can't collect. And the client asks for a discount, and people just rattle your cage. There's so much stress is generated from not getting the money, from asking for the money, that a $300 investment in a CPA is so worth it. So do a little trial. Put like a loss on it. I'm going to trade this stock, i.e. I'm going to buy the CPA, $300, 3 months, $900. I'm going to borrow it from my mom if I have to. I've done that before, Mom and Dad. Thank you. And do that. And then with the bigger ones, it's this. So coders obviously are more expensive, right? Paying someone, and they might not do it as fast as me. So I can do it in 30 hours, but it's still going to take me 10 hours to manage them. And the first time they do it, it might take 65. But you can do things like go overseas, because coding's kind of a commodity right now. Or guess what? You can raise your prices. If you're doing that good to where you're delivering a good product, I'm sure there's a 10% price increase that you could do on the next customer and just fund that thing. So hopefully it's a wash. So a lot of people are like, oh yeah, I want to hire, but I have no money. And it's like, well, you're never going to grow beyond your capacity. If it's you doing all of it, and then it gets old after a while. And that was really my primary motivation in getting people, is I just got sick of stuff. It just became miserable.
Yeah. Wow. I just had a little epiphany here while you were saying this. Like, we are 100%, 120%, agreeing with you in what you're saying right now. That is something that we discovered, which is the difference between cost and investment, right? People usually see it as a cost when in fact it is an investment, right? You're investing this money in someone to get your time back, so then you can produce, keep producing inside of your business. And now I'm thinking, within the ClickFunnels community, that is very self-made business. Like, you don't have to take on debt to build your business. That's a lot of like the message. Kind of like venture capitalist, like, is not the way to go, because if you get, that funding, you get a lot of debt, and then it's that following that J curve. And what I'm seeing right now is, it is like a healthy balance between the two. There's ways you can actually, grow your business while at the same time investing this money to free your time and leverage that growth, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and it's almost not even I was investing money. Let's just take round numbers. Let's just say I was doing a website for $5,000 and the coder cost $1,000. That's not that much of a gap to cover, right?
Yeah.
So I could get more creative with other services I offer. Say I raise my rate on website support and get a little money in. So we're not even talking big dollars here to do that.
Yeah.
But Luis, you hit on something brilliant. It costs to hire someone, but you guys have heard of the phrase opportunity cost.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
So what is the opportunity cost when you don't hire a CPA? And the opportunity cost in not hiring a $300 CPA is you're going to be stressed out.
Yeah.
Your wife's going to yell at you. You're going to I've literally swiped my credit card in the business to get money and to pay myself and paid the 3% fee. And guess what? That's pretty stressful. So if getting a CPA to write me up a little contract and get me a little stricter on money, if that's what I'm missing out on, then you always got to count the opportunity cost. And the same when investing in advertising dollars or, the quality of the podcast. If you already have a lot of listeners, you're missing out by not having better audio quality. So don't hem and haw over getting 3 mics, man. Get the mics, make it sound better, and then your podcast will go to a new place.
Yeah, absolutely. I think personally, we've gone a lot better at this. Quick story for you. I don't know, this about us, but before COVID, it was us, right? March, us two, freelancing, 100%, right?
Yeah.
We invested in coaching. We were able to kind of dial down the service that we were offering because of that capacity. We had 10 different things that we were doing at the same time. We couldn't scale. We couldn't document anything. We couldn't hire anybody because we didn't know what we were going to hire for, right? And as soon as COVID happened, the blessing was that our biggest client canceled, 80%.
Yeah.
80% of our income overnight in a week, in a day, pretty much was gone, right? So I go freak out mode. Fonzie slapped me in the face and he goes dude, let's change perspective, right? Let's he's the voice of reason here, right? I know. And I know. And we had kind of that wiggle room. We had I think it was 3 months that, we weren't gonna go bankrupt or close doors, right? But my mind immediately went there, right? So he's that's fine, dude. We've always talked about doing this show. Let's start publishing, right? Because all our coaches, everybody that have been mentoring us has been, you guys have to publish, throw it out there, right? So we're okay, sweet. This is the investment. In our time, we were investing our time in that client that we weren't even too happy to fulfill for. And now let's do this, right? So we started doing it. And immediately, right, because this was consuming the time and creating relationships, I had to do the operations side and the money thing. So I was doing QuickBooks and, doing the whole thing. And I'm no, and then we connected with somebody in a thing and we delegated that side things. I don't have any other headaches on that. They keep us accountable. They're why you guys do this? Fonzie needs to stop drinking too much coffee. That kind of stuff, right? Because it was me. I'm it's not on me anymore.
And they brought wisdom in that you don't have. Because guess what? CPAs are pretty good at managing money.
Exactly.
And there's general accounting practices. And I bet most of the audience, including me, I get financial strategy, but don't have me manage the books.
Exactly.
I'm when can I buy this iPad Pro? Bad question. Don't need it.
Or the tax strategy. I think that was when we're about to do tax, and then business start coming in because we're investing the time in the relationships, in the show, expressing our message, and now we're about to hit 9 people in the team, right? Which is incredible in less than 8 months
after one of the most scariest times, right?
Yeah,
how scary was it? And you
Very.
brought up a good point. When your business has 80% of it is one client, you kind of don't have a business. You're a consultant.
Exactly.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You need to watch, if any client's above 10% of your revenue and they leave, even if you have 5 clients at 20% and one hires internally and one goes out of business, you're going to see the biggest cut in a day.
Yeah.
So you got to watch that metric.
We were talking
this is
about
our latest conversation. Yeah.
We were literally talking about that earlier this week, right? And I followed this copywriter. His website is honeycopy.com. It's amazing. The emails that this guy sends are the best emails I've ever read. His name is
Honeycopy.
Yeah, honeycopy.com. That's
cool,
a website. His name is Cole. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. But man, his emails are incredible.
They're sweet like honey.
They're sweet like honey. Absolutely. I literally hoard them towards the weekend, and in the weekend I just sit down and read all his emails.
Yeah.
And then try to copy them.
I try to learn, try to model.
Yeah, model.
But the thing is, he was talking about that he's saying, he had a very hard time once because he had a few clients that were like 40% of his business, and all of a sudden they were gone, and he was like, whoa. And that was one of the hardest lessons he had to learn, which was don't have any client be more like 10%.
So there's a simple
of your
solution
income.
for that one, because we've been in that place too. We had a client come on board and increase revenue about 50%. So they were making $1 for many years. We made $1.50, but I just stuck it off to the side. And if you're in that scenario, you have a job to do, which is get that ratio down. So if you have a client that's 33% of your business, your job is to go get more clients.
Yeah.
Like keep them, maybe go get 5 more like that and like quadruple your business. But yeah, that's an important ratio, man.
Dude,
It really happens.
And again, back to simplicity. It's like you have one job, go get them, right? And sometimes
Yeah.
we end up like overcomplicating everything. And I think, internally for me, that has been one of the things we've been lowering for the last, we started with 1 client and then 2 clients and then 3. And, to the point that I think right now, as I was like doing the math in my head, I think we're like right at 10% of that,
great.
which is awesome, right? But at the
Yeah.
same time, it's like, man, like same thing. Like what we do really is saving time on that content creation, but anybody can do it, right?
Yeah.
Like with the correct tools, the correct people, right? We're just that team that plugs in. It could happen any day, right? And that to me internally, that's the thing. So, that's where taking action, be like, okay, who can we go out and help us design this thing? Not that we can't do it because we've been doing it, but it's like more effectively, predictably. This is awesome. I'm loving this conversation, man. Like,
I do want to transition here a little bit because we've been working on the 8-hour work week type of
Dude,
side of
that's
things.
a dream.
right?
Having control of your time is amazing.
Oh, no, I mean,
it really is. I'm sorry.
Oh,
It's
no,
been
no,
going
no.
that way for
Rub it
about
on our
3 or
face.
4
It's fine.
years.
Hey, that is
good.
the idea. The idea
Yeah,
is
that's good.
You're here, to inspire other
Yeah.
people, and like you said, inspire to get their full potential. And that's the side I want to go transition a little bit, because in the calls that we've had for you, you're extremely passionate about helping young entrepreneurs.
Heck yeah.
And I'm guessing
That's my people.
you see them, you relate to them because you've been in their shoes, and you're like, I don't want you to have to go through all the struggles that I've been to, and like have the best possible life. So I'm curious, like, where does that passion came from exactly?
Oh, yeah, the
and
mindset
what's your
Yeah.
goal, your what are your ideas on that, your beliefs around all that topic?
Yeah, so my mindset really is everything. I meet so many people out and about that get the Sunday scaries or just hate their job and they don't do anything about it, right? Like all problems in life are really solvable. Like even sickness, you're either gonna die, you're gonna get better, or you're gonna learn how to manage the pain. So nothing like stays stuck, right? You never step into the same river twice. The sky never looks exactly the same, but we get these places and we get really stuck, and it gets sad because as you increase in decades and age, like your thinking gets kind of burned in and wired in. And as entrepreneurs, I think it's our job. Not only, do we want control of our time and energy and to build cool things, but we can apply that in all areas of our life, and relationships and work and in play. So for us, not only do we like to work together, but our creative director is a couple hours away in beautiful Ocala, Florida. It's like Horse Hills. There's lots of art there and stuff like that. So we've not only tried to work hard, but also have a good time playing and have a good time living. Like even this now doesn't feel like work at all. It's fun. I'm going to leave pumped up.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's kind of, I don't think I answered the question if there was one, but I'm after a bigger dream than just like work. Like
Absolutely.
work's a means to an end, people. You got a wheel of life. You have spirituality, you have family, you have friends, relationships, your physical health. So don't get so hung up on this pie to the detriment of the rest of them.
So you mentioned something really, really key there, right? Like you're like, I'm working towards something bigger, right? And don't focus just on work. But the work is a vehicle, right? So how do you go from that state to then just overall?
Yeah, so it's balance, right? So, well, I'll just give you how I do it. So I'm a highly spiritual person. Spiritual has a lot of meanings, but basically I like to get in touch. We really have the answers inside of us. Yeah. And we run around just like looking for answers or trying to get reflected back to, which feels good. But I don't know, that morning routine of reading, of settling the mind. I love to journal. I love to read kind of daily readers, like say I'm into Stoicism now or The Artist's Way or things like that. And I just try to get in a good mind space and then, get into the day, and that gives me good energy for that. I try to eat clean. I try to stay moving. I live by the beach. It could be as simple as a bike ride to the corner. I love to surf. There's been a lot of surf and fall lately. So I find that, let's go after business hard, and we all know how to do that. But, look at the relationships in your life. Look at how you feel every day. Because ultimately, don't we want to feel a certain way every day?
Yeah.
Don't we want to wake up with a smile, whether it's Monday or Saturday or the holidays? And just like feel a bit inspired for life and feel that, contagiousness. So that's what we've really tried to build out on our team and culture. And one of the ways we did that is this, well, practically no one on our team works 40 hours a week. So people generally work like 28 to 35 hours a week, and on purpose we pay them hourly. I mean, they work for Create Studios, but that was one way we did it. So people did their own math and their own thing. They're like, oh my God, why don't you have people working 40 hours a week? Well, I'm like, if I have 2 people that are really good, that are fully committed and want to work 25 hours a week, as soon as we have more work, I'll go get another one. So that's just an example of how we put a little more margin in the day to day. Because guess what? We could do a bajillion websites. There's no end to them. So why not just do 30 hours of them a week and have a couple more people around and, grinding someone to the bone for 60 hours a week to what end in mind?
Yeah.
Right? So I love it, and I personally feel I've been going through some self-discovery process lately, right? Like, especially this last year. Trying to like get in touch with that spirituality, like reading more books. Like right now I'm reading A New Earth by Eckhart Tolle, right? And it has been very exciting, right? To be able to see, like work as that vehicle, but at the same time is like, I gotta be happy with myself and what I'm doing to fully enjoy work as well. Like, I don't want to wake up miserable, be like, oh, I have to go to work. No, I want to wake up on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday as excited as I wake up on Saturday and Sundays, right? Yeah. And that I've been finding that lately, right? Like, I love this. I love these conversations that we get to have with people, building their relationships. And I love what you're saying about kind of like the hours, because and this has been proven scientifically too. You said, when you were in the corporate world, you would spend 8 hours, 9 hours in the office, and you're like, why am I here?
I could do my job in 4 hours. And
exactly.
Most people, honestly, go look at the math. They get about 5 hours of work in. Yeah. So that's a fact. And if you really want to grind for a few years, there's exceptions. Go do that. But watch it out over the long haul, because once you establish those patterns, kind of like eating unhealthy or drinking too much alcohol, once you're a couple years in, they're hard to change. So I'm not about, like, if you want to go hit it hard, hit it. But at some point, you get stuck.
Yeah, you gotta look inside for sure. Yeah. Absolutely. So, like through some conversations we've had in the podcast, we've determined that, like, we haven't determined, but we have kind of like discovered that people don't know what they don't know, right? And you can call it awareness, right? So how do they come into, how do they become aware of this spirituality side where they kind of like understand,
kind of like their why,
like
what really drives them? I mean, it doesn't matter what content you consume. So I get really inspired by Tim Ferriss. I love this book, The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield.
Oh, I love it.
The War of Art is the jam.
The resistance.
But it doesn't matter what you do. It's just go find a book that inspires you. Go find a podcast that inspires you. Go get coaching. Yeah. I personally like Commit Action. CommitAction.com, super affordable. It keeps you focused, and that'll give you some good momentum. And then surround yourself with like-minded people. I live here at Jack's Beach. A lot of people like to go out and drink and do other crazy things, and it's really low vibration. I love me some alcohol, but going out 3 nights a week and kind of waking up slightly hungover is not going to increase my vibration. So I kind of pick, I love to go out. I love to party, but I kind of pick like what I do and who I do it with. Like, you guys have elevated my day. I was actually out shooting pool last night. I got kind of tired and faded. I was like, all right, that was enough for this week. If I do that 3 more times, it's going to like drag in every day. So like, A, pick any kind of book thing that inspires you. Pick a morning time, pick an evening time. And then B, dude, surround yourself with like-minded people, man. Don't listen to that person that complains about their freaking job every Sunday for 7 weeks. Just tell them eventually to stop it. Just be like, it's 3 o'clock Sunday. Just stop it. Like, you either need to do something about it or like go talk to the wall, right? So watch what you're putting into your mind, what you're putting in your body, and who you're surrounding yourself with, right? Because the things we look at are the things we think about. So if you're reading good stuff, if you're listening to good stuff, if you're eating clean fuel, if you're having fun strategically, not at the detriment of other stuff, guess what? You're gonna feel pretty elevated every day. You really will.
I love it. Kind of the control your input, and then that way you get to control your output. And for example, lately, I'm sure everybody has experienced this with the news going crazy, right? Like that, if you have the news turned on all day long.
Can I jump in there?
Oh, absolutely.
I made a decision in December 2018 to not look at the news. Because every time I was on my phone in the bathroom or in a doctor's room waiting or wherever, and I literally have it. And you're like, well, how do you get the news? I'm like, I have other people tell me. And when it's really important, like Australia's burning down, I Google Australia burning down. So you're totally right. Like, the news is an easy one. Or what about that family member in your life or that toxic relationship that just drains you to no end? Stop that stuff. Get out.
Absolutely.
Stop the suffering.
I feel like and we lived it in the last like 2-3 years too. Is been how do you get it out of that? Because like I feel like the general environment right now could be where it's like there's people that are stuck in their routine. That's the way it is, right? And for us, because we've since very little, we've been like, okay, on an entrepreneurial mindset, right? We always wanted to do something different. Like for us at the beginning was soccer, very different to everybody else, right? We got the opportunity to go play in Europe. That's why we're here in the States, right? After that was like, how do we create something different? So our mindset has always been, I feel like, different to the environment that we were sitting at. And but we had, at least I had this contradiction because I was like, man, I'm the only one thinking this way when my coworkers think this other way, right? So but then I was like, okay, let me just follow that thought. Let me just follow that, and let me listen to the content, like the podcasts that inspire me, the books that inspire me, right? Do you think anybody, like, how do they find it? How do they click? For us was an experience. Like I was going through a bad time. I wasn't enjoying my job, right? Like it was like I needed a change because of a negative experience. Do everybody have to go through a negative experience to go make this decision?
Pain's the only thing that makes us change. And what's funny is we all like sunrises, right? But we hate the nighttime. And if you took away the nighttime, we wouldn't even have this idea of pain. So if you really struggle with not dealing with pain, well, you need to look up stoicism. Ryan Holiday.
Yes.
I like the 366, daily reader. He put a day in for leap day. So 365. But yeah, pain's a driver. I mean, when life is really good and I'm on vacation, I can't say I learned too much. I learned that I may be proud of what I did, or I may learn that I really like this restaurant, or I may learn that this is a really nice beach. But when that COVID thing came and it took away your business, like you had to take radical action. So first you just got massively swept over by fear. But once you kind of calm your nerves, because the fear comes from like walking in the jungle and there really is a tiger, but your bank account's not going to kill you. You could go get a job. So once you realize that it's just fear, and that just like there's cloudy days and sunny days, and you kind of like let that pass through and maybe journal it out, talk to someone who you trust, and just get it outside of you instead of like it's consuming you. And then be like, man, this is a real problem. Like make decisions and stick to them. And I think in relationships or in jobs or different things, we think we owe people something. But if you're in a toxic job environment or relationship, you're hurting everyone. Absolutely. You're hurting each other. The people that you're hurting the cashier at the grocery checkout because you're like in a bad mood and like you don't bring a good vibe. So like I don't know, we just feel like we're indebted and owe people something. But I don't know. I just take action. Don't look back.
Have you had to have like hard conversations maybe with like your relationships like personally? Because I could totally see it with some family members and friends which we have, right? And at first it's been like uphill, but then it gets better, right? Have you had to have that with coworkers, with like people closer to you? How do you handle those conversations?
Tony Robbins said it best. Tony Robbins said, love your family, choose your friends. So I want to be respectful to my parents. There's behaviors I do and things I do and the way I live. My parents don't like it. And I used to run in with it, right? And I'd just be like, Mom and Dad, I'm doing this. And they're like, you're crazy. And they're like worried. They're just scared. People just get scared. And I realized that for people that are always going to be around, right? Because blood's thicker than water, you just got to love on them. And love might be not bringing up that subject with the parents. Or love might be like, you know what? I used to text every day, but now I'm going to go every other day. And if they ask, just say, hey, man, I love you. I've just been kind of busy. How are you doing today? And just get a little space in there and just be gracious, right? Because people, some things you can't get rid of, like traffic's going to be there every day, or like I don't want to get rid of my parents, as loving or as difficult as they've been sometimes. So I think being gentle there is the key. But for other stuff, like if it's a job, worker relationship, they kind of don't really care about you. If you left, they'd go find someone else. So just deal with it. Right? Be respectful. Put in your 2 weeks. Don't cuss someone out on the way out the door. Like, do common courtesies, but take action. Right? Get your LinkedIn out. Get another job. Go and then sit down with your boss and you'd be like, hey man, this might come as a blind side to you, but I honestly didn't feel that comfortable talking to you. And then they'll start yelling at you, which is why you felt comfortable, and just be like, here's my 2 weeks. And if they're like, get out of the door now, well, you just justified everything that was going on.
Absolutely.
They're a jerk. Peace.
Yeah. I mean,
thank you.
With that, I definitely noticed the importance of communication, right? Clear and honest communication is key also for that inner state, right? Because we tend, I am a victim of this. I'm working on it, but I used to keep a lot of stuff just for myself, right? And then just like let it play out and be like, okay, cool, everything is back to normal. And now I'm trying like, no, I want to be more honest. I want to say the things that I'm feeling, right? And one of the things, I just finished reading Becoming Superhuman from Joe Dispenza. And he talks that we live in this mental state where we're just remembering the past, and we naturally, like automatically, we just get into the flow, and it's like we're just feeding those past emotions, right? And it's like we're living in the past when we need to live in the future, right? In the future, in the sense of, do I want to better this relationship? How do I envision it feels like, right? Let me live those emotions, because that's what I'm gonna attract. If I'm constantly thinking on the problems that I haven't put into, into a voice and express them and talk them out, if I just keep living them, I'm gonna keep living in pain, in fear, or all these negative feelings, right? So how do you... I think in part that's why I love your practice, that you said you journal, you like this time to yourself and to reflect. And I'm curious, how does that plays out in the role of helping these younger entrepreneurs? Do you see them doing it? Is this something that you're inspired, you want them to start doing, you're trying to teach them, enlighten them? I don't know, what is the right word?
I honestly do one thing, and I do this for myself as well. We get these big ideas, right? Like I want to launch a co-work space. Big idea, COVID times, real estate, never done any of that. And I'm overwhelmed, right? And so for years I had this idea of a co-work space, and one of my super young millennial workers, I think she's Gen Z, she was 22 at the time, she's 24 now. And she was like, dude, I was like, what's up? And she's like, just throw an event. You don't need a space. Just gather these millennials together. And we got all these cool bars and spaces in Jacksonville that you can rent. And I was like, what do you mean? I want a co-work space. She's like, well, you don't got $1 million and the beach real estate. So literally we launched an event. We did that 16 personalities, INFJ, NTP personality thing.
Yeah.
We got 20 entrepreneurs together. One of our team members worked at this awesome craft pizza shop. So we got in this super good pizza. We rented out this room. And all of a sudden, there was like 20 youngins in front of me. We all took the personality test and we went after it. So that's an example of taking a really big idea and taking a baby step. So in a relationship, here's what it is. We all know what the next step is inside of us, right?
Yeah.
So pick that biggest problem in your life. Like if it's like, man, my parents are just draining my energy. Well, what's a loving way to get a little distance from them? Let them know that you're still okay. And it might just be changing the text patterns or how much time you spend there moving out. And focus on that step until you do it. Because the problem with the parents in my life and my mom and dad telling me that's a big one. It's never going to go away. But if you're like, man, what would get a little immediate space there and do that, you'll get a little freedom. And it's self-reinforcing, because as soon as we get a little margin from a problem, like as soon as you freaked out about the finances, but you got a little plan on paper, you could breathe a little bit. Yeah. But so baby steps. That's why I'll end with baby steps. Just take a baby step. Do the smallest thing. Go just do something that takes an hour. Put a timer on for an hour and do something, Jeff, towards that co-work thing, which is like, I think I'm going to teach people about discovering themselves through 16personalities.com. Boom. And next thing you know, 2 months later, we had an event. I still don't have a co-work space. So like, if I was still on that dream, like it's just an idea.
But is that one step? I mean, we decided to move countries to get away from our parents. But no, I'm kidding.
Fun fact. And I think I actually mentioned this to you the other day when we saw each other at the coffee shop. We wanted to open up one day. We were like, dude, what if we open a co-working space at the Best Buy that was by the town center that they closed down, and it was
this
huge.
was like completely dream mode.
This was dream mode for sure.
The biggest space possible.
Literally.
I know, and we're like second level, and these like shoots and Google style offices, co-working. Like,
but my idea was exactly. I mean, the money was tough, but we're like,
you're a rock star.
Let's get some capital here, right? Let's get some investors. But the idea was to have inside that co-working space like this, like meditation forest. So like it was not just a workspace, right? It was a place that people were looking forward to go to, connect with others, look inside of them if they have to, right? Like more than just a co-working space. And I feel that's what you're talking about, right? And again, yes, it takes a lot of money. Who knows? Maybe one day we'll do it.
Start smaller.
Exactly, but we gotta start smaller. So thank you for those, that those action points.
And I think relating it to our like more direct to the audience and content, right? Like your big dream is this real estate, your big dream community kind of deal, right? For us too, like we have the Mass Life project that is sitting there this is the same thing, like massive community directed to South American Hispanic market, right? But at the same time, with people when trying to deal with their content, they see like these massive machines of like a bunch of pieces out, for example, right? And that's when we started, and we couldn't do it. What was our daily baby step? Was the minimum viable content, right? Do our daily Facebook Live. Yeah. That's it. And then that created that momentum, the relationships, and now we have this incredible machine that creates about 100 pieces every single week, right? For us internally, plus whatever client. But that's like bringing it into what we do. Same with entrepreneurship, right? Like you see the big thing. what is the baby step I need to
Yeah.
take to create that momentum, right?
And a lot of times it's problem driven, so it's an action item. People could literally, pause wherever they're at in their car, and they need to identify that thing that's just eating their lunch in life. It could be a business problem, a relationship problem. It could be they need to get their health in check, and literally think deeply about it, because we have the answers inside, and take that baby step. And when you take the baby step, like, stick with it. So if the baby step was, I'm not going to go out and get trash for the next 4 weeks, well, then don't do it.
Yeah.
And if you mess up, like, at least you went from 5 times a week to 1. But I would say to anyone, your next step is to get quiet, identify that thing, and identify the baby step, and just do it, and you'll get immediate results.
Absolutely.
Why are we so afraid of getting quiet? Because I mean, we live.
It's scary, actually.
Yeah,
I get scare myself all the time.
Yeah, we live in an age of noise, right? Like, and the other day I was walking. We have like this trail back here, and I was walking, doing some thinking, and I actually put something here in my draft. I don't know if I can read it, but I put the state of the conscious mind, right? I was thinking, I was like, there's like these 3 states that I live in, which is implementation, where I'm like trying to do something, right? I'm just like going through processes inside. Then consumption, where I'm just staring at something and like just taking in information. And then creation, when I'm trying. But that, I would say there's a 4th one, which is peace, like inner peace, maybe like sit down and try to listen to your own consciousness, right? Like, but that's probably what people does the least. And I think maybe that's the most beneficial one, because like you said, like you're gonna have the answers. Like I do believe you have the answers inside of you.
You're born to do something here, and you're born to do something here, and you're born to thing that really moves you, and putting that out, you get this flow going through you that's like, it comes from within, but it's almost like it was why you were born here. Like the acorn of an oak tree was designed to be an oak, so we all have like this certain form.
So why that fear of people of sitting down with themselves and listening to themselves?
But Luis, I got an answer for that. It is scary, and at times I can't sit down by myself. I got divorced 1.5 years ago, and I was married for 17 years, right? So almost 2 effing decades.
Yeah.
And I have 4 children, and we did good with money. We did good as parents, but we grew apart, and it was the most tragic time of my life. And I'd never really experienced tragedy before. Honestly, my grandparents died, but they were older, and it was a little sad, and I couldn't sit alone. So maybe, if it is really scary and you don't even know how to switch jobs or something, you got a friend that really cares. You got that friend that'll listen. You got that family member that's there for you. You need to give them a little context. And you'd be like, man, I'm going to come from the heart here. This is like, I'm a little nervous to even share this with you, but like I'm stuck in this part of my life, or this thing's just tearing me up, and have someone share the space with you. Yeah. And then they'll be real gentle. If anybody comes to you that you know and asks, right? So if you're afraid to sit alone, do it with someone else.
I love that of get support, right? And for example, when I look back at our business, like I'm extremely grateful that I have my brother, right? Because at first when he was busy, with his full-time job, and it was like mainly me, I have no idea what I was doing, honestly. I was just like, oh, what am I going to do next, right? Like, let me grab a camera and learn how to film. And he definitely brought like a huge balance to the table. But I'm curious now, because you mentioned The War of Art, right, by Steven Pressfield. And he talks about resistance in that book, right? And it is more from a point of creating, where you're about to create your craft and do the work, right? That we face that resistance, that it tells us, nah, I don't want to do it, but we have to sit down and push through, right? So now I'm relating this to what we were talking about, like sitting with yourself and listening. Sitting with yourself and listening. That resistance of finding a breakthrough moment for yourself.
Absolutely. So I mean, okay, so think of a seed that becomes a rose, right? How many seeds died? How many seeds didn't even become seeds? Like in order for life to create, in order for the rocket ship to get out of the atmosphere, it's those giant tanks are just to break through the Earth's atmosphere and gravity. Yeah. Once the spaceship gets into the out of the atmosphere, it goes like 20,000 miles an hour. Like you could flick it and it just go to Mars. So you really do. You gotta, like, any kind of creative endeavor, any kind of self-improvement, any kind of venture, any kind of giving someone love or having a hard conversation is hit with resistance. So I just think that's part of life. But I find the reward is so great when I actually do something about it. Because once again, back to that person who it's on week 7, they're whining about work. It's Sunday at 3 p.m. I'm just like, stop it. You're killing everybody's vibe, right? So to me, the opportunity cost, like the pain I'd have to go through for what I get, you just got to do it.
I love it.
Nothing comes easy, man. Like,
Yeah.
do you think building the iPhone was easy? It's easy to copy it now. All the phones are the same, but like, people remember when they made fun of the iPad? They said the iPad was a big iPhone.
Yeah.
Look at what you're using.
Absolutely.
I know. So you know what I mean? Like, yeah, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, you here on Earth, or what really moves you, and just like going and doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I love it.
I think that first step is by far probably the hardest one, right? Like that first, like, and I feel like people might overthink the length of that first step because they're like, oh man, I gotta just like the cliff is over there, I gotta jump, but it's like, oh man, just one little one, take action, right? Like take it in and then take the other action.
Start building that momentum.
Which, you know, when we understood it like in the wrong way, because we kind of had to, right? We're like, we were like trying to jump and like fell through the cliff, and jump again and fell through the cliff, and we were not learning. We were like just being stupid, and we were like, man, like what, like, okay. It took that big moment to where, oh man, this is crap time. We gotta, you know, what is the next step? Like for us was the minimum viable content, just one little video that made that traction for us as a business. Like you gotta find in what helps you in your own
Sinek, famous for talking about millennials, Simon Sinek wrote Start With Why. And it's all about that. And he's got a guide, and he's got a way to get with someone else and have this discussion with someone that doesn't know you that well. So, you know, if you're out there and you're like 19, or like 23, or maybe you're 32, and you're just like, I've lived a decade of work and I'm just dead. Like, dude, go get some resources and stick to them, and Start With Why is a great place to start, because it'll kind of guide you. Like, what were you really good at? You know, and it might have been like, man, you got a finance job when you're a creative. And you built this nut and went after money and got a house and got married and did all this stuff, and you know, just kind of did it because you were told to, and it didn't make you happy. So you kind of got to slow down and peel back and go like, you know, when I was a kid, what got me excited? Or when was the last time I just lost track of time? I was so immersed in something. And, you know, and when you get those answers, you can be like, okay, so I can't quit my job, but on the weekends or the evenings, I can do this. And you're listening and got this far in the podcast, then you're one of those people, and there's hope for you.
Let's go.
Feel a lot different this next 7 days from now.
Man, that's so awesome, man. Dude, thank you so much for sharing all your stories.
Selfish question here for me. When is the next event? Because I want to participate. I want to go and be in one.
You know what I'm doing, guys? This is disgustingly good. I'm so excited. So let's keep it short. So we almost signed on a lease right before COVID in Jacksonville Beach, and by happenstance, we weren't going to make enough money. So in February, we're like gonna sign on a lease and turned it down. Well, guess what happened in March? Boom. So I would have been in a much more different, stressful state right now. So real estate's off the table. In my goal is March, I'm going to launch the Converge House. So Converge is what I call this movement for millennial entrepreneurs. And I'm renting a freaking Airbnb for like a month.
Ooh,
and I'm going to curate 6 to 8 entrepreneurs from all over America. And they're going to come and they're going to work on one wildly important goal for their business. So they're going to come and have day-to-day work at the house, work at the coffee shops, do their normal. But then we're going to add another layer, like one wildly important goal, one wildly important thing they can get done in 30 days. And then more than that, as soon as work's done, we're going to go paddleboard, we're going to go surfing, we're going to enjoy some nightlife and go out, but we're all going to do it in a really like elevated and clean way. So the Converge House is my next thing. I'm doing some mentoring programs. You can go to weconverge.io. That's weconverge.io. And I did a 90-day mentoring program. It went really well. Going to do that again. But I'm going to fly in 6 entrepreneurs, get them to pony up a little money just to cover all this nut of this Airbnb. And we're going to have a grand old time. And guess how I'm going to feel after that 30 days?
Recharge, amazing.
People next time, and maybe we have to buy a house, right?
Yes.
So it won't work out exactly like that, but it's gonna happen in some shape or form.
I love it, man. This is so exciting.
So if we have listeners and people watching us right now that are interested in this, they go to weconverge.io.
Yep, and they can also check out my personal site, because I'm real into philosophy and like free thinking and open-mindedness. So that is jeffvenn.com. Venn, V as in victory, E-N-N, V-E-N-N, like the Venn diagram. Circle. So jeffvenn.com. You can find out about my agency, find out about Converge, and eventually I want to run retreats and just help people have breakthroughs and blah, blah.
I'm sure, like, I mean, now you have 2 Hispanic brothers here, and we're definitely gonna like come back and revisit this for Mass Life, dude. Like that's the secret like dream project that we have going on since I was probably like 15 years ago. Crazy. How time flies, but this is awesome, man. I think we have a lot in common, and thank you, man.
So the audience has an action item. They got to guys sit down and figure out what's eating their lunch and do something about it. A little baby step, right?
Well, the baby step is the Mass Life show, so which is in clearly in our avenue of content stuff. So,
There you
well, we're working on
Yeah.
two other shows, and that's the first baby step. Is start developing those relationships,
Yeah.
those frameworks, those things that we want to teach and
Talking about
thoughts.
action steps, right? What would be an action step that you would leave people with that listen to today's podcast? Whether that is to find themselves internally
I got
or
one.
manage, an 8-hour work week.
No, I got one for him. So journaling is awesome. So I encourage someone who hasn't journaled 3 times a week for 2 weeks. Just sit down and freeform journal. I don't care if you type it, you can write it, but 3 times per week for 2 weeks, 20 minutes. Just sit down, wake up, be like, I didn't make coffee this morning. I'm out of creamer. I got 22 things to do on my list today, but then get into the good stuff. And if you just sit down, that's The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron, The Artist's Way. But if you just sit down and journal for 20 minutes, 3 times a week, and do that for 2 weeks, you will be amazed at what's inside you, Luis, right? And it's not as scary as you think, because those demons already haunting you. You just need to name them and get them out.
That's right.
Yes.
Question: Do
I
you
love it.
journal in the computer, in paper?
I've done both. So I'm a digital guy, so I got the iPad pencil, and it's slow, but they say when you write, it forces you to slow down.
Yeah.
And you get more out of it. So I've done both, but honestly, I mainly type, but I'll literally do 300, 700, 800 words a day, but it's just
Wow.
free form. But
Yeah.
every now and then I'm inspired. Like this Converge House thing, it was
Yeah.
just an idea 3 weeks ago, and now I'm like putting an outline around it, so that might come out. Or every now and then life gets tired and hard and problems, and I'm just drained, and I'll just be like, dude, I'm so
Yeah.
tired. Been tired for 3 days, haven't been working out, freaking pants don't fit right. It's just like someone
normal
yelling at me
life.
about something. But guess what? I feel a little better when I'm done because it's on paper and it's just the problem. And I'm
You
like-
just got it
so
out.
in other
Yeah,
words,
yeah.
3 times a week, 20 minutes free form. Either write it down, get on your iPad, your laptop, all distractions off. Get up a little earlier. You got this. I guarantee you in 14 days, you'll discover something that's inside there that's ready to birth.
Yeah, I love it.
I
Yeah.
love it. Thank you so much.
I think for us it was like the 45 Live was part of like our
journaling.
our journaling to the
Yeah,
world, but
it
I
was
think
more-
obviously this is more like internal for us.
For
Yeah.
you.
Yes,
You
I
don't
love
have
it.
people read these things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, they're for
Absolutely.
you.
Yeah, awesome.
Jeff, we kind of heard you're in a quest.
Yeah.
Is that a thing still, or if we have listeners that have shows, please let us know. We're happy to connect you
Yeah.
with them.
Mindset, entrepreneurship, really big into women's equality.
Awesome.
Sick of
Love
women
it.
just taking a backseat to Western patriarchal too long. So
Yeah.
Absolutely.
love all those topics.
Awesome.
Love it.
What would you say is a big benefit of?
I mean, a lot of times just getting out and ideas are what makes the human species supersede. Like if birds were smart, they would live in bird condos, right? The birds would have got together and be
Yeah.
like, we all need to build up in here, and they don't. But we can share ideas and information,
Yep.
and we all have a voice. So those things are on the side. So when they get out and they collaborate, they become something bigger. And even like this conversation today, it's very elevating.
Yeah.
Thank you, man.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, it means a lot.
I enjoyed this conversation a lot. It has been absolutely amazing.
Awesome. So .io, jeffvenn.com.
That's the place.
Slide into those DMs if you forget those domains, but just like slide down. It's gonna be right there in the description. Just slide down and click it. Connect with Jeff, man. This has been amazing, man. Thank you so
Yeah.
much for coming to the studio. We're
Yeah, thank
we're
you so
so